Hi everyone, Shane R. Monroe here. I recently did a config file video for the Commodore 64 Ultimate. You can watch that here. This is a supplemental video, so if you haven't seen that one, this one may not make a lot of sense. But there were a few things that I felt were worth talking about still, so this will be config 2.0, but we'll make it short. So I'm over here on Windows right now. I copied over all my config files. It's just easier to show this off over here on Windows. So when you do a config save from the menu on the C64U, you end up getting a full snapshot of every possible setting. Audio mixer, speakers, most of this should look fairly familiar. Cartridge settings, printer settings, network settings, Ethernet, drive A and B. So these should all look familiar to you. But when you take that configuration snapshot, it saves everything. So even if the snapshot was just to turn on the REU or just to disable drive 8, so you could use a real floppy drive with it, unfortunately, if you save everything, it doesn't just save a differential, it saves it all. So that may not always be the greatest thing ever, right? Now, you may have full-blown configuration changes like this one to set up for PAL gaming or something of that nature. But for the most part, most people are going to want to have very succinct changes. So you can see here, it's built like an old Windows INI file. There's a section header, and then there are parameters, right? Now, the nice thing is you don't have to include everything every time. What do I mean by that? Well, if we take a look at my NTSC 50 config, that's literally all there is. There's a heading, which I'm assuming has to be there. Maybe it doesn't. Leave a comment down below if you know differently. And then the actual parameter you want to change and its value. That's it. So here's why for PAL. Pretty simple. Turning the REU off, turning it on. You could have actually even gotten rid of this REU size, but I figured at some point I might want to set it. Turning on my SID, right? So this is a little more complicated. I have a hardware-based SID chip in there. So when I want to use that SID chip, I have to do a whole bunch of things like turning off the volume on UltiSID 1, enabling the SID socket. So there's a handful of things that I want to do to set up for using my physical SID. And you can see here I have one for this Globe demo that I just did a video with. There's a rumor going around, and I think I've seen it in multiple places, but I haven't seen it actually work. And that is if you name a config file the same as a disk image file, when you load the config file, it will automatically launch the corresponding game file. That doesn't work. At least I can't get it to work. So if there's something special, if you know something about this, leave a comment down below because people would love to be able to do this. I was thinking maybe that you could just add an item here in the config and it would say like auto launch or something like that. But I don't think that's unfortunately the case. So anyway, so we can dispel that rumor at least for now. Hopefully they'll get on this and make this a reality because I think that would be absolutely awesome. And listen, guys, if you're going to do that, Commodore, Gideon, whoever's doing it, let's make sure that there's an option to get rid of the confirmation that you loaded the config, right? So I should be able to hit enter on the config, run it, or load the config, and then it immediately jumps into the game. I don't have to hit OK first. So if you're out there listening, that would be the dream. So how do you make this all work, right? Some of this is going to be knowledge. So if we go back to my all-in-one Utilicid FTP NTSC 50 no REU Jiffy DOS configuration, how do you go about making this into something that you actually want? Well, it should be simple, but let's go through it. So I'm going to make a clone of this just to make it easy, and I'm going to call this Test Shane, just to give it some sort of a different name. I'll bring it in. Now you just start removing what you don't want. So I don't need anything of the audio mixer. I don't need anything of the speaker mixer. I don't need the SID addressing. I don't need whatever. The only thing I want to do in this case is, I don't know, turn on the FTP service. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of everything else in this area and everything not that below the area. Get rid of all that. Get out of here. Okay. And then I need to get rid of everything above that section. Oops, I got a little dangling W there. Okay, there you go. So now this would do nothing more than enable my file service for FTP or disable it, for example. Right now I've got an isolated, very concise config file that does exactly what I want, but doesn't change anything else. Listen, that's all we're going to have for this one. Thanks so much for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. You guys have been the greatest. Keep those comments coming. I read them all. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.